Your last blood test came back normal. Your doctor looked at the numbers and said everything looks fine. And they were not wrong. But that result, the one that reassured you, may be the most incomplete picture your body has produced in years. Here is what the standard metabolic panel does not measure: the structural health of the organ that produced that normal number. Research published in Diabetologia found that by the time blood sugar officially becomes a problem, up to 65% of the pancreas's insulin-producing cells may already be gone. The test passed. The organ did not. What I am going to walk you through today is the part of pancreatic health that standard screening does not touch: the silent side, the structural side, accumulating damage in people over 60 while every blood number stays green. There is one test that can actually see it. Most doctors never order it. Stay with me, because the thing I want you to leave with is not a new fear. It is one specific question you can bring to your next appointment. That is the whole point. Most people who get a normal blood test believe the pancreas has been assessed. That is understandable. It is also incomplete. The standard metabolic panel checks the insulin managing side of the pancreas, the machinery that controls blood sugar. That side can look completely functional. But the pancreas also runs a second, entirely separate operation: the side that produces the digestive enzymes your body needs to break down every meal you eat. Those are two different systems. Standard blood panels check one. They say nothing about the other. Across the research I have spent years reviewing in this area, the pattern that stands out most is not the patients whose blood sugar was high and whose damage was caught early. It is the people whose blood sugar levels were perfect and whose pancreas was already running a different process entirely. The test passed. The organ had not. The test came back normal. That is usually where the conversation ends. It is also, in many cases, where the real problem begins. The problem here is not a bad physician. It is a screening system built to catch one problem and never designed to see another. You walk in, you get numbers, you feel reassured. The reassurance is real. It is just partial. If you stop here, this is the part that explains why the bloating, the unpredictable digestion, the low energy after meals, why none of that showed up in the results your doctor celebrated. So what is the pancreas doing on the side that no one is testing? The answer is more specific than you might expect, and it has a name. Research published in Diabetologia found that by the time type 2 diabetes is formally diagnosed, roughly 65% of the pancreas's insulin-producing cells are already gone. That means the diagnosis your doctor gives you at 67 may be describing damage that started in your 50s, before a single blood test flagged anything. The diagnosis is not the beginning. It is the end of a long silence. And the damage to that insulin-managing side is only part of the story. Pancreatic scarring, the gradual replacement of healthy tissue with scar tissue, does not produce pain, does not show up on a standard blood panel, and gives no warning that it is happening. Your body absorbs the damage quietly, and by the time any number on a lab report shifts, the structural work has already been done. Patricia had been keeping crackers in her desk for months, not because she was watching her diet, because a real lunch made the afternoon feel like punishment. The heaviness, the sluggishness, the way her stomach felt like it had stopped cooperating. Her blood sugar level came back at 5.4. Her doctor used the word excellent. She drove home from that appointment and ate 4 crackers for dinner. She had not eaten a full meal at the table in 6 weeks. What exactly had the test confirmed? If Patricia's story sounds like someone you know, or like you, the like button helps this video reach more people who are sitting with the same question and don't know it yet. That is the only reason I am asking. The test that came back excellent was not wrong. It just wasn't looking at the right thing. Those are two very different problems. It is a little like checking the fuel gauge when the engine is what is actually wearing out. The gauge reads fine. The reading is accurate. It just isn't telling you what you need to know right now. I use that analogy with people because it tends to land, and because it is accurate. If the blood test was only ever checking one half of the organ, the other half has been running its own process this entire time. The problem is not that your blood test lied to you. The problem is that it was only ever designed to check half the story, and nobody told you there was a second half. If any of this sounds familiar, type yes in the comments. I read every one. There was a second half, and it has been running its own timeline, separate from your blood sugar, separate from your blood sugar level, separate from every number your doctor congratulated you on. The pancreas produces 3 key digestive enzymes, one for carbohydrates, one for fat, and one for protein. When the tissue that makes those enzymes is damaged or replaced by fat, production drops. Your food enters the small intestine without the tools it needs to be properly broken down. The organ is still there, it is just no longer doing the full job. Think of it like a kitchen where the knives have been slowly replaced with plastic ones. The food still goes in, the cutting just does not happen the way it should. And nothing on the outside of the kitchen tells you the knives have changed. If you have had a normal blood sugar result in the last 2 years and also had unexplained bloating, unpredictable digestion, or unintended weight changes, stay with me. What I am about to explain connects those two things. This is why Patricia's blood sugar result said excellent and her afternoon still felt like punishment. The blood sugar system was holding, the enzyme producing system was not, and the test she received only measured one of them. The other half had been failing quietly, on its own schedule, completely off the panel. panel. What many people over 60 are calling sensitive digestion or irritable bowel may actually be the pancreas producing fewer and fewer digestive enzymes, a condition that is significantly underdiagnosed in older adults. The bloating after a normal meal, the unpredictable digestion, the feeling that your gut has just become unreliable, those may not be aging, and they may not be food. That is not a small distinction. And the enzyme story is only part of what imaging has started to reveal. Fat can infiltrate the pancreas and begin impairing its function, while your fasting glucose and blood sugar levels remain completely in the normal range. On paper, you are metabolically healthy, but the organ doing the work is already carrying a load it should not be. Dennis had quietly rearranged his entire schedule around eating. Dinner before the hike, never after. Small portions, nothing rich. He told himself it was just how his digestion worked now. His blood sugar was fine, his cholesterol was fine, everything was fine. Then a physician assistant, during a routine visit he almost skipped, ordered a stool elastase test. The number came back low. His pancreas was not producing enough enzymes to finish the job. He ate with the group that Saturday for the first time in 14 months. Dennis was not ignoring his health. He had reorganized his entire life around it. He just hadn't been given the right question to ask yet. Apparently, the pancreas did not get the memo that we grade it on the blood sugar test alone. That would be convenient. It does not work that way. Have you noticed this in yourself? Tell me below. Just one word is enough. If you stop watching now, this is the part where the downstream consequences become clear. If the enzyme-producing side has been quietly underperforming for months or years, the effects are not abstract. They show up in your energy levels, in your body's ability to absorb fat-soluble vitamins, vitamins A, D, E, and K, all of which depend on fat digestion to reach the bloodstream. In the slow, invisible erosion of nutritional adequacy, even when your diet has not changed at all. You can be eating well and still not absorbing well. By the time a standard blood test detects a pancreatic problem, research suggests that up to 65% of the insulin-producing cells may already be gone. The diagnosis is not the beginning of the problem. It is the end of a very long silence. The gap between what is happening and what is being checked is where most people spend years. And there is a very specific reason almost no one gets the right test. That reason has less to do with medicine and more to do with what your doctor is asked to look for. So the damage accumulates, the tests stay green, and most people never find out until something bigger shifts. But here is what changes when you know which half of the story to ask about. If you have spent years being told your numbers look fine, and something has still felt off, that confusion is not you overreacting. That is the right instinct meeting the wrong test. There is a difference, and it matters. Subscribe, and I will keep showing up with the part of the picture that standard screening leaves out. I will be here consistently. What changes is this. You stop waiting for the number to move, because by the time it moves, the structural timeline has already been running, often for a decade or more. The number is the last thing to know. Every year, people over 60 walk out of their doctor's office with a clean panel and a quiet sense of relief. The blood sugar level is normal. The fasting glucose is fine. The doctor is satisfied. That result is real. It is not wrong. But it is measuring the blood sugar managing half of a two-system organ, while the other half continues its own process, entirely unchecked, entirely silent. Your cleanest lab result may be your most misleading one. There is a test, a simple, non-invasive stool test, that can detect early pancreatic enzyme failure. Has your doctor ever mentioned it? Most people watching this have never been offered one. There is a straightforward test called a stool elastase test. It checks whether your pancreas is producing enough enzymes to do its job, and most primary care physicians never order it. If your doctor has never mentioned it, that is not their failure. It simply was not part of standard metabolic screening, and most people never knew to ask. And understanding why requires knowing something most patients are never told about the organ itself. Most people do not know that the pancreas is running two completely separate operations, one that manages blood sugar and one that produces your digestive enzymes, and standard blood panels only check one of them. Your blood sugar result tells you about the blood sugar side. It says nothing at all about what is happening in the other half of the same organ. If you have been nodding along and quietly thinking about someone specific, that is probably not an accident. The people who stay with a video like this tend to already know, somewhere, that something has been missed. Marlene was one of those people. Marlene had filled thousands of prescriptions for digestive medications. She knew the drug names, the mechanisms, the common side effects. What she did not know, until she was 71, was that a simple stool test could detect whether her pancreas was producing enough enzymes to digest a meal. She found out because her granddaughter asked why she always had to sit after lunch. Marlene did not have an answer. That question led to the appointment. That appointment changed the answer. The problem in this video was not a misdiagnosis. It was a system that checks one half of one organ and calls the result complete. What you can do starting tomorrow is simple. If you have had unexplained digestive symptoms alongside clean blood work, ask your doctor, by name, for a fecal elastase test. That single question changes what gets checked. Here is the protocol. 3 steps, no equipment, no cost. You can do this before your next appointment. Step 1. Write down the symptoms you have normalized. Bloating after normal meals, unpredictable digestion, fatigue that arrives within an hour of eating, low-grade discomfort you stopped mentioning because the test kept coming back fine. Write them down. Bring the list. Step 2. At your next appointment, say this: I would like a fecal elastase test to check whether my pancreas is producing enough digestive enzymes. You do not need to explain why. You have the right to request it. Step 3. Ask your doctor what your results would mean if they came back low, and what the next step would be. That question alone puts you in a different conversation. That is it. That is the whole thing. The person who watches a video like this to the end is not someone looking for something to worry about. They are someone paying attention. And paying attention at this stage of life is the most useful thing you can do. If this gave you something, a new way to think about what your body has been telling you, a reason to ask one more question at your next appointment, subscribe to this channel. New research, real context, no noise. The next one builds on this. If there is someone in your life who has been told their numbers look fine, but something still feels off, send them this video. Not as a warning, as a gift. You watch this because you are paying attention. Keep doing that.